Fellow tennis nerds, in this video we will look at my buddy Robert Rasmussen's excellent ball striking. He's testing a bunch of 98 square inch rackets released in 2025, and we'll go through which one becomes his favorite, and I'll also summarize and discuss a little bit about the different rackets towards the end. So I hope you enjoy this video. There is a predecessor to this one when I met Robert in September 2024, and that is up on YouTube on the Tennis Nerd channel, the regular channel. So check that out if you haven't already seen it. Robert is a super nice guy, great player. So let's hear what he has to say, and then I'll summarize towards the end.
Rob, you're back in business. We're going to test loads of rackets today.
Yes.
But let's get back to what you actually play with first.
I'm still playing with Pure Aero 98. I have actually done it a little bit lighter from last time. Used to find some more angles. I have a fast racket swing, so just you know, play with it a little bit. So the same strings, same setup, but a little bit lighter.
RPM Hurricane, 24 kilos, right?
Yes.
So yeah, we're gonna try a whole bag. We're gonna try the new Pure Drive, new T-Fight, Solinco, everything. We'll see what you got time for. We have some rain here as well. But so like you've played with pretty much all 98s. Yes. What's your feeling? Like what stood out to you?
From the last video, for me it's about control and spin. That I feel the racket is alive and that I can swing it full and still have the control and spin that I need.
The ones I noticed you wanted to play the longest, you like the Solinco Whiteout, that seemed to suit you quite well. You like the ISO 98, and you really like the Gravity Tour 98. Those were like three that stood out to me a bit when you play with them.
Yes, I agree. The Gravity, it felt very good. For me, like a V-core kind of, a little bit more open up on the top. The pop, so good from the racket.
You like the drive as well?
Yeah.
It's a lot of power in that one, but and a little bit more than your arrow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Babolat guy, but for me, I think I will switch to the drive 98.
Okay, man, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
So we didn't have time for a long voiceover due to court times and rain, but thanks to Robert for taking the time to hit me off the court and try some rackets. The rackets he tried, we should list them, was the Radical MP from Head, the Solinco Whiteout 98, the Gravity Tour 98, also a head racket, the Wilson RF Pro, the Babolat Pure Drive 98. He had his own Aero 98 with him as well, the Yonex ISO 98, and the Technifiber T-Fight 315. There was no real science here, and we made this kind of decision to play last minute, and he wanted to try a bunch of rackets, so I brought them. They were not strung exactly with the same string and tension, but within a ballpark, and nothing too crazy. So he would give at least a pretty fair assessment of these rackets in his way. Like this is all subjective, as you might know, but it's always interesting to hear, especially from good players like Robert, what they think about the rackets. So he's into 98 square inch rackets, as are many of you. That is usually kind of the more advanced player head size, but it's also of course possible to play with this head size from the intermediate level. For beginners, I would recommend generally a larger head size, 100 or even larger than that. But a 98 square inch racket is supposed to give you some control, but this is also but the modern approach is to also add some spin and some power to that control. So it's not like the old 95 square inch rackets of the past, which was all about like a nice soft feel and precision. And this is about giving you a little bit more pop as well to be more dangerous for your opponent. The weight was mainly around 305 grams. There were some exceptions. The Radical MP is 300 grams. The Technifiber T-Fight I brought was the 315 version. There's also a 305 and a 300. And the RF Pro is the heaviest racket of the bunch. That is 320 grams unstrung. So a pretty heavy racket. I have reviewed all these rackets on tennisnerd.net and on the regular channel. So if you want a specific breakdown of a certain racket, go there and check it out. And also check other reviewers if you want a more 360 point of view. I try to always include other voices in my videos when possible. When you test rackets, it's always a good idea to have your hitting partner or hitting partners give you some feedback on the weight of your shots with different rackets and string setups and whatever you're testing, and how easy versus hard it is to hit against a certain racket and a certain shot. Obviously, it's about you feeling that you can be consistent, have control, and play the shots in the game you like, but it's also good to know what the opponent thinks about a certain racket. For example, when I play against certain players, the Aero 98 gives them like a heavier ball and I struggle more, and a more low-powered racket like the Radical in this case would give me an easier ball. So that's generally it. But for me, for example, personally, I prefer sometimes control rackets, especially in a match situation where I'm more nervous, that I can actually play with more control, where the rackets like the Aero or the Drive 98 or E-Zone might fly a bit more. This is all up to you and very, very personal, but that was generally like the idea of this as well, that I could give him some feedback on the shots he produced. It was clear here that the Babolat was where he was most at home, and that it has to do with grip size, of course, and grip shape. I mean, like the grip shape of a certain racket is very important. That is kind of a strong opinion I have, that you have to feel very comfortable with the grip. If you're not feeling comfortable with the grip, then, you know, your whole game can pretty much fall apart. We see that with the pros, they always get the custom grip that they are used to, even if they're switching brands. So if a pro is switching a brand, they're going to make a custom grip for him. He's not going to change to a new grip shape. I don't think that is really very common. Some might not be so sensitive, but most pros would be pretty sensitive to changing the grip shape and size, of course. So he was more at home, coming from the Aero with a racket like the Drive, a powerful racket that goes through the court more than the Aero, which has a bit more of a kick and a launch. And the same with the ISO 98, which is the direct competitor, I would say, to the Drive 98. In this playtest, otherwise, there were more kind of control-focused rackets, Radical, Solinco Whiteout, even the RF Pro. They're a little bit more control-focused, not so much on power and spin. So when we played in September, I felt like he played amazing tennis, especially with the Drive 98, and that was the previous model. Since Robert plays with the Pure Aero 98, I just felt like he had to try the Pure Drive 98. Since he's not like this most spin-oriented player and likes to attack the ball, I thought like with this extra power and more like through the court trajectory might really suit him and his game. So no customization added to this one, strung up with Tourline Caviar and Tourline Super Toro, a hybrid. You can check out more hybrids on tourline.ai, which is their omakase program where you get a custom hybrid. I helped develop this program a little bit, and it's always interesting to try hybrid setups, but yeah, you can get really lost in that jungle. But this program is supposed to help you, and you get 20% discount on Tourline, regular Tourline strings if you use Tennis Nerd 20. Enough about that. This racket, yeah, I really felt like the ball came at me quickly and he could really whip it because it is a bit lighter than his racket. Not a huge deal, but a little bit, and had massive power. So I really felt like the ball was really attacking me here, and I had to adjust quickly. And obviously it's going to be a little bit different on hardcourt than clay, but I think it's good also to do different testing sessions and try different surfaces, different match situations, different opponents as you're selecting your racket. You can't just play with it 10 minutes and decide. It has to be a bit more of a process. But this one felt quite natural from the get-go. And that's why he was so curious about the new one, which is quite different. Like it has a bit more of a control-oriented approach, a little bit more comfort built in, because the other one was fairly stiff, and a 16-20 pattern. So one more cross string to give you a bit better control on certain shots. So it was a bit of an adjustment. I think he had an easier transition to the Drive 98, the previous version, but he really liked the Drive 98 this time around. Makes sense. It would be easier for him to go Aero to Drive in the same racket brand. But there were other rackets he really loved. Gravity Tour 98 did not quite create maybe the heft of shots, because it is a low flex racket. It flexes a lot, but creates more of a spinning ball as well and a higher launch angle. In a way competes with the Aero 98, but not quite. And I could tell that he really enjoyed the feel of that frame the most, and I've seen that with other players as well. I would say that his most consistent tennis came with the RF Pro. He had great control of the ball there, even with a low tension, relatively low tensions on that racket. So that seems to be a racket that is really loved by guys who plays like college D1, like really high level players. Maybe they played futures, or play future level tennis. The RF Pro seems to be really liked by these types of players, but it's a bit too demanding even for advanced club level players because of the weight. And the weight of the racket is quite high, and it's still not headlight enough to make the racket feel super whippy unless you have a very good game. So I've noticed with the really strong players that I sometimes hit with that this racket comes up as a favorite, but for players of my own level, it is a little bit more of a challenge. You want a bit of a lighter and more forgiving racket than the RF Pro. The Radical and the Solinco, two control rackets, they were okay for him. He felt like the Radical lacked a little mass, enjoyed the Solinco more, but maybe not enough to consider it as a switch. That's why you have to demo. You might be a complete personal take for you to know which one works the best for your game. However, it's always good to get some advice maybe on which type of racket or which 3-4 rackets could work the best for your game. And that's why we have this consultation service, because I get so many questions, like hundreds of messages a month. And one way to do a more in-depth help is to do a consultation via email, and that's something we offer on tennisnerd.net, if that would be interesting. The Technifiber T-Fight rackets, I thought that could be an interesting one for him. They've been very hyped up, got some great reviews from other reviewers, but he had no real strong feelings about this frame. Did not really say wow or nay, you know, it was just kind of a lukewarm response. So I was not really surprised to see him gravitate towards the Drive 98. It's not a home run racket for me personally, but I do like it. And for the right player, I think it can provide a good combination of that kind of drive through the court with that stiffness, that power, but with a denser pattern and not the launch of the arrow, which can make some shots sail depending on your game style and how you like to attack the ball. So with the arrow, you need to be more, I think, on top of your game and on your swing speed than the drive. So that's good to know, but the arrow is of course growing in popularity, especially on the Pro Tour, as we've seen with recent switches and players trying it on the highest level. But it's not for everyone, so that's good to keep in mind. So I hope now to see Robert in a few months, maybe here in summer, and to play some more tennis and see how he's getting on with the Drive 98, or if you've gone back to the Aero 98. This stuff happens also. And I'm also curious to hear from you guys which racket you would pick from the 98s on display, and you can of course throw in other 98s if you want as well, like the Blade. We didn't bring that. That's an older release, of course, and I had not yet tested the retail version of the Dunlop SX Tour 98, which would have been interesting to compare. So maybe I'll bring it the next time I meet Robert. So let me know in the comments which one you like the most. Personally, I would probably play a match with either the Aero 98, where I'm more dangerous, or in days when the ball is sailing a bit, I would go to the Radical MP, maybe with some small tweaks, adding some slight bit of lead tape on it, just for a bit more pop, because it's quite whippy, that racket. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you did. Have a nice day now, and don't forget to play some tennis.